That age-old dilemma then of just the best way to carry stuff when going out on a mountain bike ride. Now, it could be as simple as taking a multi-tool and a flapjack for a quick whiz around the local trail centre, or it could be packing enough for an all-day epic. It's a tricky one that often is hard to overcome, and it's a fine line that us mountain bikers always tread between. Do we take just everything, enough to cover every eventuality, or do we carry the bare minimum so that we're not absolutely loaded up like a pack horse? Well, today in this video, I'm going to cover a couple of great carrying solutions. So we're going to have a look at hip packs versus backpacks and see which one is possibly best for you. Often a ride will dictate just kind of how much you're going to need to take, and very rarely do you ever go on a spin where you're not going to need anything at all. Now, not taking a bag is obviously an option, but there gets to a point, well, you can only jam so much in your pockets or strapped to your bike or here, there, or everywhere before it either gets inconvenient or uncomfortable. You just cannot take enough. So that is where the bag comes in. So before we look into the pros and cons, maybe let's look at the main differences between the two. Well, I don't think it's any great secret as to what some of the main differences are between the two types of pack. I mean, we can obviously clearly see the backpack look, worn on the back, it's slightly larger, it's got two straps that come over your shoulders, obviously, and it's got a bigger capacity, if you like. Whereas the hip pack, well, as the name suggests, yeah, you guessed it, it's worn behind you and obviously goes around the hip. It is slightly smaller, but in that way can be a little bit more convenient and a little bit more lightweight as well. But what are sort of the pros and cons of each? Well, let's really dive into each one now so that you can make a really informed decision as to which one might be better for you. Backpacks to begin with then. If you're thinking of going all in for a ride for the day or potentially even longer, or maybe you're just the kind of rider that likes to be prepared for any eventuality, then this is definitely the one for you. The ability to carry, well, look, all of this, plus actually take more water with you means that it is the do-it-all. It is the daddy when it comes to carrying things. It's not just the ability to carry more stuff though, it's the added tech and comfort that comes with it. So at the channel, we're sponsored by Camelback, and my go-to backpack is, well, this one, the Mule Evo. It's a 12-litre backpack with a 3-litre bladder in it. And I choose this one, well, you might have seen on my recent 24-hour challenge wearing it because it's really comfortable to wear, and all the extra compartments, and this one is even waterproof, mean that I know my stuff is protected, I can take enough stuff, and that I'm not going to be uncomfortable when wearing it for a really, really long time. So let's kind of look at some of the features that this backpack and many others like it will share. Let's start with the mesh then that makes up the straps. Designed like this to keep airflow to a maximum and heat loss also well up there as well, so you don't get too hot and stuffy, feeling like you're enclosed around the pack. There's also some really clever pockets on the straps as well that you can stash extra bits in, as well as neatly tucked away the tube that comes from the bladder. Moving around then, you've got exterior pockets that you can keep things stashed away in, as well as somewhere to put a helmet into as well, or even a jacket if you wanted to, along with some compression straps along the side to keep things nice and tight. You can see the waterproof material here and the waterproof zip as well, keeping everything nice and dry inside. Backpacks aren't just jammed with exterior features, and interior-wise, well, they're also pretty loaded too. So you can see the bladder is stashed away nicely in here. This is a 3-litre bladder, and that's a lot of water. That's a whole lot of hydration going on right there. But it's also this, you see this back compartment here. A lot of backpacks will have all these different pockets and stash areas to keep things really organized and stop them rattling around. So all these smaller bits of multi-tool, I will put in certain areas so that I can get to them really quickly. And then obviously in the bulk of it, I can put things like a spare t-shirt here if I get a bit cold or really sweaty, if it's a hot ride and I want to change out, or if it's, like I said, I got my gilet. All of this is going to fit really easily into this backpack with plenty of room to spare. But to play devil's advocate, and there are a few, not necessarily negatives, but downsides to backpacks as a whole. First up, the size. I was just saying how good that is. Well, it's also a bit of a burden sometimes, because if you've got a big old backpack, we're suckers for just taking too much sometimes. Jamming it full of extra stuff that actually in the long run you think, did I need those 2 spare rear mechs and a spare wheel strapped to the back of it? Probably not. So you actually end up carrying more weight and more unnecessary stuff than you probably are going to need. Another one is cost. Backpacks are a bit more expensive than a hip pack because, well, more material, more manufacturing, more features on there, the bigger bladder, etc. It does all add up. So a backpack can sometimes cost twice the amount of a hip pack. So these are just things worth bearing in mind, depending on the style of riding you do. But what about hip packs? Well, let's get on to those. We're not going to need that anymore. It's no longer required because it is the turn of these. Bum bags, fanny packs, hip packs, call them what you will. Over the last few years, I would say that these have well and truly come to stay, and the tech in them has improved vastly as well. So let's take a little look at the pros and cons of these bad boys. Hip packs have come a long way since the early days now. Obviously, as you can see, the material used, the design of them, the ergonomics, everything is now designed specifically around bikes. It's not like you're using a weird hiking one or a running one and just using it for a multi-purpose, if you like. You can see on this one actually that like there are organization pockets in the front, there are larger organization pockets at the back here, so you can keep all your tools and your snacks and your bits and bobs all where they should be. This is a Camelback Podium Flow 4 then, and as you can see, it takes a water bottle nice and snugly and securely right slap bang in the middle of it. And actually, they do make bigger versions with a proper bladder inside of it. So you can have your water bottle either stashed in here on your bike or an actual bladder in there. And obviously, you got to think that's some added weight in a hip pack. So it needs to be secure. And well, they are nowadays. Most hip packs out there are actually really well ergonomically designed. So you can see Camelback's flow system here. It's almost like a mesh system that's similar to what's used on the backpack straps and the backpack back support to allow airflow through, and it's really padded as well, because you got to think if you've got tools and other gizmometry stashed away in there, you're going to need it. You don't want it pressing into your hips or into your back. So this added padding here and the really nice wide strap helps distribute the weight and the load so you can do it up nice and secure and tight, and it's not going to dig into you. But those are positives. Are there negatives? Well, here's a couple. Well, let's start with one. Look at all of this stuff here. I have got tons of stuff, and this didn't even fill probably half of the backpack. Now, you'd really struggle fitting this in a hip pack just because of the size of it. That's just the design of them. So that's something that you're gonna have to come to terms with when you're thinking about which one to choose. Another one that if you do load this up, especially with really heavy items, well, you're gonna wear that if you are for an all-dayer, can be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes because the weight isn't as evenly distributed across your shoulders and your back and around your waist. You've just got all of it sitting all around your hips and on your lower back there. So again, if you're doing a monster of a ride, just bear that in mind. It's always worth just thinking about. But, you know, we're getting towards the end of this video now, and I always love to hear from you guys and girls out there as to maybe which one you use already or which one you would choose when you're thinking of buying your next one. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you pack light? Are you a hip pack kind of guy, girl? Or are you one of these guys who likes to take a lot of stuff? Are you in the backpack category? Let me know. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'm gonna load this thing up now and I'm gonna head out for a bit of a ride myself. So until next time, I'll catch you later.